Hello and welcome back. Okay, now we need to hurry. We need to hurry. We can't afford to waste time. Tenemos que darnos prisa. No podemos permitirnos el lujo de perder el tiempo. We need to hurry. We have to hurry. I'm in a hurry. Yo tengo prisa. En inglés se dice, yo estoy en una prisa. I am in a hurry. I'm in a hurry. Are you in a hurry to learn English? Well, I would recommend that you not be in a hurry. Take it easy, slowly and gradually. Don't get tense and uptight. Take it easy. But me, I'm in a hurry. I'm in a hurry because I have to leave. At the end, no, I don't. I have one more program after this. But I'm in a hurry. I'm in a hurry. I'm in a hurry. I'm in a hurry. Okay? And we need to make time work in our favor. We need to make time work for us. Yes, we can't afford to waste time. Okay? Because we have a lot of things to do in the next 30 minutes and the following 30 minutes. All right, time is a scarce resource, and we can't afford to waste it. El tiempo es un bien escaso. All right, time is a scarce resource, recurso, and we can't afford to waste it. We have limited time to achieve a lot of things. We have many things that we need to accomplish today, and let's start. The plate is too hot to handle. Sometimes when a waiter comes out, he says, cuidado con el plato, quema. All right, don't touch the plate. The waiter comes out. European waiters, or at least Spanish waiters, carry the plates on their arms. It's quite impressive. They balance the plates on their arms, and they come out and says, canelones? Yeah, and they keep the plates balanced on their arms, and I'm always impressed with how good waiters do that. In the United States, they carry on a big round tray. Tray is bandeja, tray. And sometimes they have 5 or 6 plates and 5 glasses of Coca-Cola or something, and they balance that at the same time, which is also very impressive. I prefer the Spanish style. I like it when they carry it out on their arms like this, okay? Quite impressive. But they often say, cuidado con el plato, quema. Be careful with the plate, it's hot. I remember one time, I was in a Mexican restaurant in Austin, Texas, in the center of Texas. My family, myself, my wife, my children, and my parents, there were 6 of us. And there was one waiter who was Mexican, clearly, well, Mexican. He was Mexican-American. He was a citizen of the United States, and clearly he had grown up in Austin, Texas, in the city. But he didn't speak Spanish, or very, very little, practically nothing, because he heard my wife and my children and myself speaking in Castilian Spanish. And he said, "What language are you speaking?" And we looked at him and said, "Spanish." He said, "You're speaking Spanish?" I said, "Yes. Don't you understand?" He was clearly Mexican, but he didn't speak Spanish. He had Mexican blood. He was American by citizenship, by nationality, but he had Mexican blood. He's what we call a Mexican-American. But he was 3rd generation. And you see, in the United States, 3rd generation often doesn't speak Spanish. The 1st generation who crosses the border from Mexico or Guatemala or El Salvador to the United States usually doesn't speak any English. But he or she has children, and the 2nd generation doesn't speak English perfectly and doesn't speak Spanish perfectly. It's kind of in the middle, in limbo, the 2nd generation. And the 2nd generation makes a strong effort that their children speak perfect English with a perfect accent, and not with a Mexican accent like this. And so they make a very strong effort, and so they don't want their children to hear Spanish. So they speak English at home. And so the children grow up and they don't know Spanish. It's very sad. You see, their parents speak good Spanish, not perfect, and the grandparents don't speak English. They speak perfect Mexican Spanish, which is very good Spanish, very high quality. And the 3rd generation doesn't. Now, in this restaurant, the waiter was clearly from a Mexican-American family, okay? And he didn't speak Spanish, but he was surprised on hearing how we spoke Spanish. He had never heard it before. He recognized Mexican Spanish and understood a few words, okay? He understood a few words, but he didn't speak the language. And he said, no, my parents didn't want me to learn Spanish. They wanted me to learn perfect English because it helps me for my future career, my professional life here in the United States. So, he didn't speak Spanish. Now, I remember when he brought the plates out with the Mexican food, he said, be careful, plato hato, he said. He was Spanishizing an English hot plate. And so don't touch the plate. And it was true, the plates were, wow, very, very hot. The plate, my plate, was too hot to handle, manejar. I couldn't handle it. Now listen, escuchad. The plate was so hot that I couldn't handle it. Está claro, no? So easy. The plate was so hot that I couldn't handle it. Okay? Now, I'm going to tell you in the other camera an alternative to this, which is also perfectly correct and very expressive. But first, let me repeat. El plato estaba tan caliente que yo no podía tocarla ni manejarlo, el plato. The plate was so hot that I couldn't handle it. All right, let's go over here. It was such a hot plate. It was such a hot plate that I couldn't handle it. Okay, recapitulemos. The plate, empiezo con el sujeto ahora. The plate was so hot, so más adjetivo. The plate was so hot that I couldn't touch it, for example. Ahora, alternativa. It, empezando con it. It was such a hot plate. Such, seguido de sustantivo. Con adjetivo en medio, por supuesto, pero el sustantivo es plate. It was such a hot plate that I couldn't touch it or handle it. Now, I'm going to give you more examples, okay? I'm not going to stop and expand on each example. I'll go more quickly through the different examples, and then if time allows, if time permits, so puedo usar los dos, prefiero permits. If time permits, we will go back and expand on each one individually, okay? Are you ready? The man was very old. Yes, the man was very old. He couldn't walk. Option one, the man was so old that he couldn't walk. Option two, he was such an old man that he couldn't walk. Number two, the day is too cold for us to play tennis. Play tennis? Are you crazy? It's 4 degrees below zero. Are you crazy? The day is too cold to play tennis. The day is too cold to play tennis. Yes, the day is so cold that we can't play tennis. The day is so cold that we can't play tennis. It's such a cold day that we can't play tennis. Voy a empezar otra vez. The day is so cold. El día es tan, o hace tanto frío, diríais aquí. The day is so cold that we can't play tennis. It's such a cold day that we can't play tennis. All right? The runner is too slow to win the race. Forget it. Paco, to win the 1,500 meters? No way. Paco is too slow to win the race. Yes, he is so slow that he will never win the race. He is so slow. Paco is so slow, tan lindo. He is so slow that he will never win the race. He is such a slow runner. Paco is such a slow runner that he will never win the race, okay? The man is too short to play basketball. In fact, he is so short that he will never play basketball seriously because he's so short. He's 1.46 meters. He's too short, clearly. He is so short that he will never play basketball. He is such a short man, he will never play basketball. The exam is too long for me to finish on time. Do you understand? It's impossible. The exam is so long that I will never finish. El examen es tan largo que nunca lo voy a terminar. Nunca, ni soñando. The exam is so long that I will never finish it. It's such a long exam that I will never finish it. The steak is too tough. I'll show you in the middle microphone, okay? Yeah, look, the steak. I ordered a steak, and it's too tough. It's too tough. Carne dura is tough. Carne tierna is tender. Like Elvis Presley, you remember? Love me tender, love me true, never let me go. Está mal. El Elvis Presley, nuestro amigo, daba patadas a la gramática inglesa, pero es licencia poética. Love me tender, love me true, never let me go. Ok, analicemos esto, ¿eh? Está mal. No es ámame tierno, es ámame tiernamente. Hay que usar un adverbio, no un adjetivo. But Mr. Elvis said, love me tender, en vez de love me tenderly. Y luego después lo remate con love me true. Ámame verdadero, no verdaderamente. Love me tender, love me true. He should have said, love me tenderly, love me truly, but you lose the poetic essence of the song. Never let me go, no me sueltes jamás. Okay, it's a very pretty song. Eh? And in this case, the grammatical mistake is permitted. It's what we call in English and in Spanish, poetic license. Okay, certain freedoms that you have to be poetic. All right, so, but here I'm not talking about tender meat. I'm talking about tough, the opposite. Tough, también es duro. Una persona dura, eh? Tough. To learn English, learning English is tough. It's not easy. Okay, the steak is too tough for me to eat. I can't eat it. Waiter, it's too tough. I can't eat it, my God. It takes me a minute to cut it, and then it takes me 2 minutes to chew it. What's the problem? It's like the sole of a shoe. Come on. So, the steak is too tough to eat. It is so tough, Mr. Waiter. This steak is so tough that I can't eat it. It's so tough. Please take it back and bring me another steak. Please take it back. Take it back and bring me a new steak or another steak. Because it's so tough that I can't eat it. Ahora vamos a usar such. It is such a tough steak that I can't eat it. It's such a tough steak that I can't eat it. The next one, the movie was so bad that I left in the middle. The movie was. Last Saturday night, I went to a movie with my wife, and we got up in the middle and we left. Because the movie was so bad that we decided to leave. The movie was so bad that we left in the middle. Estoy empezando la frase con movie. The movie was so bad. Y en el medio tengo so más un adjetivo puro y aislado. The movie was so bad, bad is el adjetivo. The movie was so bad that I left in the middle. Ahora vamos a hacer el otro. It was, empieza con it, pero movie va a aparecer más tarde, después de such. It was such a bad movie. Tan mala era la película, era una película tan mala. It was such. Okay. Más o menos, traduciendo esto, la primera versión, opción. The movie was so bad that I left in the middle. O sea, la película fue tan mala que me fui durante el medio. Okay. Más o menos a la mitad. La película era tan mala. La película era tan mala. La película era tan mala. Ahora, era tan mala la película. Okay. La segunda versión es, it was such a bad movie. The first is, the movie was so bad. Yes, it was such a bad movie that I left in the middle. Okay. The suitcase was very heavy. Oh, my God. ¿Estás llevando tus bolos para jugar a los bolos? The suitcase was very heavy. I couldn't carry it. I couldn't carry it. The suitcase was so heavy. The suitcase, la maleta. The suitcase was so heavy that I couldn't carry it. No, I couldn't. I couldn't carry it. Opción segunda. It was such a heavy suitcase that I couldn't carry it. It was such a heavy suitcase that I couldn't carry it. No. The meeting was very boring. I fell asleep. I fell asleep, yeah. The meeting was very, very boring. And do you know what happened? My God, I'm so embarrassed. Estoy tan apurado, tan violento. I fell asleep in the middle of the meeting. I fell asleep and started snoring. My God. And Felipe, I woke up. But everybody heard me snoring because the meeting was boring. In fact, the meeting was so boring that I fell asleep. The meeting was so boring that I fell asleep. O bien, podría decir, it was such a boring meeting that I fell asleep in the middle. And everybody realized. But then after the meeting, they said, Richard, don't worry. You're not the only person who fell asleep in the meeting. All right? Okay, the water was extremely cold. I couldn't swim in it. The water was extremely cold. The water del agua estaba extremadamente fría, hasta el punto de que no podía nadar. Quería bañarme y era imposible. The water was so cold. Yes, I remember. The first time, when I was a little boy, I was probably 5 years old, and my sister was 8, and my father and mother took us to Austin, Texas, and my father said, Ricky, Nancy, we're going to take you to Deep Eddy. Eddy es Eduardo. Eduardo Profundo. ¿Eso qué es? Deep Eddy. Eddy tenía un segundo significado que es un agua de manantial que viene desde debajo de la tierra y sale. It's a type of eddy. It's like an underground, una corriente de agua subterránea. It's an eddy. Okay. I didn't know that. When I was 5 years old, I said, Deep Eddy. Who is Eddy? Okay. But in any case, my father said, I'm taking you to Deep Eddy. It's my favorite swimming pool. I went to Deep Eddy when I was a little boy like you. I said, oh, good. Go swimming. Go swimming. I love to go swimming. And my sister, too. We were ready to go swimming. And our father took us to Deep Eddy. I didn't know that the temperature of Deep Eddy was about 50 degrees below zero, the water. And my father threw me into the water, and I froze. I couldn't move. It was so cold. And my father said, swim, swim. It'll warm up your blood circulation. And I started to swim, and I was so cold. And I swam to the other side of the swimming pool. And you couldn't get out because it was a natural swimming pool. It wasn't an artificial swimming pool. It was natural. Un manantial. It was from the mountains, from the hills near Austin, Texas. Las Colinas, the hill country of Austin, Texas. And the water was freezing cold. It was so cold that I couldn't move. It was such a cold swimming pool that I couldn't move. And I swam to the other side, and there was a rock formation, natural, and I got out. But from that side, I couldn't go around to leave the swimming pool. I had to swim back across the other side to get out completely. And I was looking at my father. I was sitting outside of the swimming pool on the opposite side. And my father says, well, what are you going to do? I said, I don't know. The water's too cold. It's so cold that I can't swim in it. And my father said, come on. No es para tanto. It's not that bad. And then my sister, the same. We were both sitting there. And said, it's too cold. But we had to jump in and cross over in order to exit the swimming pool. And we did. I have never experienced such cold water. Aquí digo such. Nunca he experimentado agua tan fría. I have never experienced such cold water in my life. The water was so cold that my body turned blue in the water. And finally my father realized, and he said, you know, I think the water's colder now than when I was a little boy. And I said, I don't know, but it's freezing. And I was only 5 years old. And I have never again been in such cold water in my life. Okay, the next one. Russian is very difficult. It took me 5 years to learn it. El idioma ruso. Russian is very difficult. It took me 5 years to learn it. Russian is so difficult that it took me 5 years to learn it. Russian is such a difficult language. Fijaos, aquí aparece la palabra language. Por eso pongo such delante. Russian is such a difficult language that it took me 5 years to learn it. Russian is so difficult. Y aquí no menciono language. Entonces uso el adjetivo apelo. Difficult. Russian is so difficult that I needed, or it took me 5 years to learn it. Ahora, si quiero recalcar un idioma, el ruso es un idioma tan difícil. Russian is such a difficult language that it took me 5 years to learn it. Let's go back. Okay, next one. The bed was very hard. Very hard. I couldn't sleep on it. It was like this table. You know, my wife said to me, well, Richard, you have a bad back and your cervicals, your discs in the back. You need a hard bed. Let's buy a hard bed. Let's change this bed for another one. So we went to a department store, and my wife asked, look, I want a hard bed. And they showed her several. And finally, she bought one particular bed, a king-size bed. It's a big bed, but it's so hard. My God, it was like a rock sleeping on that bed. Last night was my first night sleeping on the bed. Sleeping on the bed. Did you think of sleeping on the bed? Si te tumbas en la cama, sin abrir la ropa de la cama, y te quedas dormido, you're sleeping on. O estás tumbado en la cama, you're lying on the bed. Ahora, si abres la ropa de la cama y te metes en, you're sleeping in bed. Not in the bed. No solemos decir in the bed. Decimos in bed. ¿Dónde estás? Estoy en la cama ya. I'm in bed. Okay? De hecho, si quiero, I'm lying on the bed. But this was like a rock. Entonces yo no me sentía dentro de ninguna cama. Me sentía sobre una piedra. I was sleeping on a bed that was so hard last night that I couldn't sleep. Yes, the bed was so hard that I couldn't sleep. It was such a hard bed that I couldn't sleep. Yeah. Maybe, and tonight I have to sleep on it again. My God, can't you see my eyes? I didn't sleep last night. The bed was so hard, I couldn't sleep. Now, my wife tells me, don't worry, you'll get used to the bed, you'll get used to it, and then you'll be happy, and your back will not hurt you so much. You'll have fewer problems with your back and your neck, because what you need, Richard, is a hard bed. Sleeping on a bed like the top of this table. Can you imagine sleeping on this table? Maybe the next class I'll sleep on it for you, okay? But the bed was so hard last night that I couldn't sleep. It was such a hard bed that I couldn't sleep. The bed was so hard that I couldn't sleep. It was such a hard bed that I couldn't sleep. ¿Lo tienes claro? Está clarísimo, pero siempre mis alumnos al final se lían con estas cosas. Okay, the day was beautiful yesterday. The day was beautiful. I decided to take a walk. The day yesterday was so beautiful. Yes. And when I woke, that I took a walk. The day was so beautiful that I took a walk. Yes. It was such a beautiful day that I took a walk. Yes, yesterday when I got up and I walked outside, the sun was shining. It was a beautiful day. And I began to sing. Yes. Oh, what a beautiful morning. Oh, what a beautiful day. I've got a beautiful feeling. Everything's going my way. Todo va por buen camino para mí. Okay. It was such a beautiful day. The day was so beautiful. Recapitulando. El día era tan hermoso. The day was so beautiful. Era un día tan hermoso. It was such a beautiful day that. Okay. Está claro, ¿no? Más que claro. Now, but remember this, because I don't want to come back to this until maybe in 6 months from now. De aquí a 6 meses. 6 months from now. De aquí a 6 meses. One more. Let's see. Yeah, the course. No, 2 more. I don't know if I have time. The man was crazy. The man was crazy. He played solitaire with 51 cards. Come on. Jurado solitario. In the English and French deck of cards, deck, como cubierto un barco, es la baraja de cartas, or naipes. On the English and French deck, there are 52 cards. On the Spanish deck, you have 40 cards. But in the English deck, there are 52. And if you play solitaire, you need 52 cards. Now, I know a fellow who plays solitaire constantly with only 51. He lost 1 card. And for me, that's crazy. He is so crazy that he plays solitaire with 51 cards. Doesn't make sense. He is such a crazy man that he plays solitaire with only 51 cards. Now, to finish this segment, let me tell you, English is so important that you need to make an effort. It is such an important language that you need to make an effort. Okay, do you agree? I hope so. All right, I'll see you in just a few minutes. Don't go too far away.